to pay attention to this training. It's very important. Yeah.
Welcome to the Division's training on recognizing abuse and neglect. During this training, you will learn how to recognize and report abuse, neglect, and exploitation. You will become aware of the importance of reducing abuse, neglect, and exploitation, as well as understand the challenge providers face in being able to recognize these terms. Direct care workers who support people with disabilities face multiple challenges in their day-to-day job performance. You must learn the unique communication styles and needs of each person you work with. You must perform tasks, teach skills, and then write it all down before you go home. Most of us agree that the ultimate goal of our work is to enable, empower, and encourage people to have quality of life, to develop interdependence with their communities, and to strive for personal independence. But before any of that is achievable, people must be safe and have confidence that help and support is available to them.
Don't watch me, cause I'm gonna do my stuff, cause I do my program, cause I do wash my clothes and my bowl, and do my garbage in my room. To do other stuff.
And try to get everything set out before I start doing my baking. I turn the oven, get everything together. I tell them, don't rush me. I would clean up my own mess when I get done, so I do.
We must ensure the health, welfare, and safety of the people we serve every day by being experts about each person, what it takes to help them succeed, and what to do when there are concerns.
Okay. Well, I'm Keith Gilbert, and I had my brain injured in 1981, a long time ago. And well, I've come quite a long ways since I've been in the hospital. But everybody who has a handicap, anybody has some sort of a handicap, and we just all need to treat each other with the respect that we feel we want to be treated with. And like if I'm talking to you, I want you to talk to me in the exact same tone. If I get rude or curt, that just means, so something's wrong. But, if you treat somebody the way that you feel you should be treated, I think things will all be fine. Thank you.
There are no current accurate statistics regarding disability-related abuse, neglect, and exploitation. The shocking fact is this is due primarily to the underreporting of such crimes. Many mandated reporters do not file reports because they do not know how, they are unaware of their duty to report, or they do not understand what constitutes abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Who is a mandated reporter? You are. Mandated reporters are professionals who have regular contact with disabled persons. Whenever knowledge of an incident causing risk of serious harm is present or even suspected, you are required to report these crimes and incidents immediately.
Hello. My name is Matthew. People help me every day. How do I know what is inappropriate touching? I can't talk, so I need someone to listen and speak up when something is wrong.
Go for it.
I'm in Washington.
And what makes a good staff?
Nervous. I like what you like.
And how do they treat the people they work with?
With respect.
And if someone is not treating you nice and with respect, who should you tell? How quickly should you get help? And what did you want to tell people about abuse? Anything else you want to say?
Why?
You can make a difference. Listen to the people that you work with.
My definition of abuse would be anything that could be physical, any emotional, mental, sexual abuse, anything that is name calling or pushing someone, or that's my definition.
Very good. Okay. What would you like a new staff member to know about abuse and neglect? Do you have a message that you would like new staff members to know about this topic?
Yeah, the message I would have from them is, some people can speak up and say what's going on with abuse, but there's other people that don't have a voice, and I just would encourage staff that if they see signs of abuse and the client isn't reporting it, that maybe the staff can write up a report and basically be that client's voice. Because I believe a lot of people that have developmental disabilities that don't have the capacity to speak can be abused, and staff need to look for the signs and be aware. And if they see anything that's different when they work with a client and they feel like there's something going on at their home, just maybe to check in and make sure everything's okay and that person is safe.
Okay. Frank, I was wondering if you could give me a couple examples of other indicators of physical abuse.
Burns and scalds, bite marks, eye and ear injuries, dental and mouth injuries, dislocation of joints, injuries, and fractures.
Thank you.
Sexual abuse is defined both in legal terms as well as by the person being abused. Any unwanted touching by another person may be defined as sexual abuse. Other specifically defined forms of sexual abuse are classified as crimes, such as incest, molestation, and rape. Additionally, even if not directly carried out, allowing a sexual offense against a child is considered sexual abuse. Emotional abuse includes actions by others which may cause psychological harm and discomfort, including using threats and intimidation or ignoring dietary restrictions. For children, this includes inflicting mental injuries as well. Using frightening physical actions that stop short of causing serious physical harm, such as raising your hand in a threatening manner or pretending to slap, is also considered emotional abuse. This type of abuse can also come from exposing someone to domestic violence, insults, or even harassment. Just witnessing these situations can be psychologically harmful and can be considered abusive. Unfortunately, emotional abuse is the most difficult form of abuse to identify.
Based on Wyoming statutes, neglect is the failure to provide the minimum food, shelter, clothing, supervision, physical and mental health care, and other care necessary to maintain a vulnerable adult's life or health, or which may result in a life-threatening situation.
Neglect is the failure to provide the minimum food, shelter, clothing, supervision, physical and mental health care, and other care necessary to maintain a vulnerable adult's life or health. Actions that may result in life-threatening situations are considered neglect as well. Self-neglect occurs when a vulnerable adult is unable or refuses to perform essential self-care tasks or refuses to manage their financial affairs. When a vulnerable adult does not obtain food, clothing, shelter, medical care, or goods and services necessary to maintain physical health, mental health, emotional well-being, and general safety, they are neglecting themselves. Child neglect occurs when an adult who is responsible for the child's welfare fails or refuses to provide adequate care, food, clothing, safe shelter, maintenance, supervision, guidance, education, or medical, surgical, or any other care necessary for the child's well-being. Less obvious forms of neglect occur when vulnerable people are denied communication, the right to family life, social interaction and inclusion, economic stability, rights, necessity, privileges, and opportunities, as well as other ordinary freedoms. Abandonment is also clearly defined as neglect. For adults, abandonment occurs when the vulnerable adult is left without financial support or the means or ability to obtain food, shelter, clothing, or health care. For children, abandonment occurs when the child has been left without obvious behavioral, verbal, or written intentions of reclaiming the child.
Exploitation. According to Wyoming statute, exploitation is defined as the reckless or intentional act taken by any person or any use of power of attorney conservatorship or guardianship of a vulnerable adult to obtain control through deception, harassment, intimidation, or undue influence over the vulnerable adult's money, assets, property with the intention of permanently or temporarily depriving the vulnerable adult of the ownership, use, benefit, or possession of his money, assets, or property.
Exploitation is the reckless or intentional misuse of someone's property by someone in a position of authority for their own gain. In other words, it is when someone who is in a position of authority takes advantage of someone else, such as a disabled adult. Often this takes the form of using someone else's money or assets for their own profit. Potential signs of exploitation may include changes in the amount of money a participant has for personal care items or supplies. A participant may state that they are unable to afford anything. The presence of an overly controlling person in the participant's life who makes decisions for the participant that seem inconsistent with what the participant wants or needs can indicate that exploitation is occurring. If a participant makes statements involving borrowing or lending, it is a good idea to ask further questions to ensure that the participant is making informed decisions. Anytime that a person gains personal benefit from money, property, or possessions of a participant, the situation should be investigated further.
Be truthful for the people you work with. Don't abuse your other workers, and don't abuse the handicap who you work with.
Recognizing abuse, neglect, and exploitation can be difficult and is due to many factors. Frequently, people receiving services may not recognize when they are being abused, or they may fail to report it out of fear or lack of adequate communication skills. Additionally, participants may fear not being believed, or perhaps they have reported the abuse, but they have not been taken seriously.
I know something, Swan. I just don't know what words to use.
The disability itself often mimics abuse, such as skin breakdown from equipment or marks that appear to have been made due to self-injurious behaviors. Actual signs of abuse are often misinterpreted as behavioral problems, resulting in more stringent behavior plans and protocols.
I'm afraid that if I plan to my staff, that I have to move. Angry because I'm hurt, I don't need a behavior plan.
Travis, what are some other common bruises that might indicate abuse?
Several different surface areas, patented relationships, bilateral means bruises on same places on both sides of the body, evidence after an abuse absence, visiting on vacation.
Very good.
Bruises are among the most common injuries found in children and adults with developmental disabilities who have been abused. Other common physical signs of abuse include patterned burns, cuts, bite marks, and broken bones. It is also helpful to note that males most frequently complain of stomach aches, while females who've been abused most frequently report headaches. Behaviors can be extremely important in detecting abuse and neglect, especially in people who have communication challenges or are unable to verbally disclose abuse, neglect, or exploitation. Behavioral indicators are often the first sign that something is wrong, even before physical signs are present. Some common behavioral indicators may include depression, withdrawal, mood swings, as well as changes in sleep patterns or sudden regression to childlike behaviors like bedwetting or thumb sucking. Other behaviors, such as acting out aggressively, becoming unusually fearful, or even becoming non-compliant, can indicate mistreatment.
The person may be afraid to go home or afraid to live at home. The child may be afraid to change clothes for gym activities, may be attempting to hide injuries.
Victims of abuse often appear fearful of others.
Accidents can happen to anyone, so how can you distinguish between an accidental injury and an injury caused by abuse? When observing an injury that might be the result of abuse, consider these factors. First, the location of the injury. Certain locations on the body are more likely to sustain accidental injuries, including the knees, elbows, shins, and forehead. Protected body parts and soft tissue areas, such as the back, thigh, genital area, buttocks, back of legs, and face, are less likely to accidentally come into contact with objects that could cause injury. Second is the number and frequency of injuries. The greater the number of injuries, the greater the cause for concern. Multiple injuries in different stages of healing are also a strong indicator of chronic abuse. Third is the size and shape of the injury. Accidental marks resulting from bumps and falls usually have no clearly defined shape. As well, the description of how the injury occurred is an indication. When the description of how the injury occurred and the appearance of the injury are inconsistent, there is cause for concern. Finally, the consistency of injury with the person's developmental capability. As children grow and gain new skills, their ability to engage in activities that can cause injury increases. A toddler trying to run is likely to suffer bruised knees and a bump on the head. Toddlers are less likely to suffer a broken arm than an 8-year-old who has discovered the joy of climbing trees.
Well, body language is a good cue to look for somebody who can't talk. They'll be moving their arms, like if they're pointing to the mouth, like could mean they're hungry, or if they're going around the waist, maybe their belt is on too tight, or maybe they have something around the waist they don't like. And if they're limping, that means obviously, unless they're limp like me, but one of their legs is bad or something. And body language is a big key to working with the handicap, and I've noticed that throughout the years.
The written information that is included with this training DVD includes a comprehensive list of abuse indicators. Please review this information to become aware of other signs that may indicate that a vulnerable person has been subjected to abuse.
They shouldn't be abusive to us clients or other people out in the community. Sometimes if people have problems, they should go talk to their case managers, or you should go try to help your friend out the detriment they are in.
Okay. All providers are required to report incidents of abuse, neglect, and exploitation, as well as other critical incidents, on the Division's Notification of Incident form immediately after assuring the health and safety of the person and other individuals involved. This form can be found at the Division's website. More information on incident reporting can be found in Chapter 45, Section 30 of the Wyoming Medicaid Rules at the DDD website, and on the Division's training DVD on incident reporting. Thank you for your time and attention to this very important information we've discussed today.
You can make a difference.
Hi, my